Wait, let us start. Okay, let me just quick intro this, Hadi, and then after that we'll get into it.
Okay.
Okay, so welcome to the 17th episode of HUMARII CHAII, where today I have my friend Hadi Khatri online. Online, yeah, I guess
Yeah.
he lives literally like a couple hundred meters down, but Corona and isolation and quarantine, and we're quarantining, aren't we, Hadi? Say yes, bro.
Yeah,
Say
yeah,
yes. People are
yeah.
watching this, and we're not going to
Okay.
jail. Okay.
Okay. Yeah,
And
quarantine.
yeah,
Yes.
and
It's
most
currently going.
importantly, today बातें होंगी हादी के expression के बारे में. And now
Okay.
that's the most ambiguous thing I could have said, but it's like clickbaity as fuck. But anyway, Hadi is a literature student here at Bilkent, which means he has even less job opportunities than I do, which is beautiful because I study philosophy, but at least people can spell philosophy. Bro, spelling literature is
I feel
hard.
like more
I'm good
people
at that.
can spell
Bro, are
literature
you
than I.
crazy, bro? You lose yourself in the chair, bro, somewhere. Philosophy is like philosophy. It's easy, bro. What do you mean?
I guess. I
But
guess.
anyway. So today I want to talk to Hadi about something that he does that I find interest in, which because I can't do it and I don't like knowing I can't do things. Yeah, there's a complex right there.
Are you
But
saying that I can do it?
yeah, I'm saying you do it effectively,
Okay.
whereas I cannot do it effectively. Okay,
Okay.
तो recently मैंने poem लिखी थी मगर मुझे मजा नहीं आया. ठीक है, but that's because I need to be very direct in the poem or direct when I write, which means I don't have the subtlety and the ability to be abstract and shit. So how do you write shit like that? And why are you so zoomed into this camera, bro? Stop checking your
Sorry
eyes.
about that. No, I wasn't checking my eyes.
Bro,
Okay. Yeah, interesting
कराओ.
question. क्या?
जवाब कराओ मुझे मैंने सवाल पूछा है. I
Okay.
asked you how
Yeah.
you write.
Yeah. Okay, so that's a very broad question. Yeah, like it's
Okay.
of course
What's
different
the
things at different
mindset
times.
when writing something that's very personal to you? Not for an
Okay.
assignment, but for your own time.
Yeah. Okay. Most of the poetry that I do write is very personal to me. So there's that. Firstly.
Yeah, okay. ये होता है bullshit जवाब. अब देखो अभी
Yeah.
असली वाला आएगा.
कुछ चीज़ें बोल नहीं सकता मैं. But
या वो तो देख के बोलना bro. I understand. मैं भी नहीं बोलता हूँ चीजें. But it's okay.
yeah, but I'm not sure what you mean because like every poem is of course different, right?
Yeah.
What I'm trying to achieve through every poem is also different, and sometimes it is literally a way for me to get my emotions out, and that ends up being very direct because I'm not necessarily hoping or expecting that someone else is going to be reading this poem. Sometimes just that form, writing in that form, helps me to get my emotion out. Otherwise, if I'm writing from a literary intention where I'm trying to explore something in language, even over there, personal stuff starts coming in inevitably almost, and you draw from your life or your own experiences. But the point is not to tell my story, right? And it's not autobiographical, right? So it's all, you could see it as a piece of fiction. And of course, you see, like you're saying, you see emotion there or something abstract or vague, which is probably because I'm drawing from my experiences, but it's not necessarily my own story. So it's not direct. Like that might explain or answer your question.
Chalo, that was that was an answer, not the answer,
Okay.
but we'll get there, huh?
Okay. Okay. Yeah. We can dig into it. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, so I'll lead by example because that's what I'm used to doing.
Yeah. Examples would help.
Yeah,
Okay.
but देखो, when I'm writing, you've read my blog,
Yeah.
and I hope most of the people that were watching this do not read my blog, but chalo. Um, you have read my blog. My blog is obviously very direct. It's very open.
Yeah.
It's clearly evident that what I'm trying to say because it says it, right?
Yeah.
But when I was trying to write the poem I wrote, I was
Mm.
trying to get to a point without like literally writing about it, right? Like, okay, I don't know how to put this. See, that's the problem. If I knew how to put it that way, then I would have probably been able to write it that way.
Yeah.
But like if this is a cup, right? I would call it a cup, but I suppose you could describe it being a cup without ever mentioning it a cup, right? Like
Yeah.
there's this poem you wrote, the metaphor one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, where each stanza was trying to explain that it's a metaphor,
Yeah.
but nowhere was metaphor mentioned, and I had a really hard time. I remember for different reasons, but I had a hard time trying to like realize that it's about a metaphor. So how did you go
Yeah.
about writing that?
So
Like
that was
very
for an
अच्छा.
assignment, and there was a very specific goal for that poem, which was it was based off of Sylvia Plath's poem called Metaphor, and we had to create something like that. So there was a very specific intention in creating that poem.
So you cheated. So you plagiarized. Or were
No,
you
I mean,
inspired?
I was told to do it. We were told to take inspiration from Plath's poem and write a poem like that of ourselves.
Okay, but
Yeah,
on
so
a
it had
side
to be.
related note,
Yeah,
if I take your poem, right, and I
yeah,
change a couple words every sentence, is
yeah.
that still inspiration though? There's a kind of poetry that's like that, right? It's called
Erasure
is that
poetry.
yeah, erasure poetry, right?
Yeah, yeah.
You feel like erasure poetry is plagiarization? Plagiarism, shit.
uh, that's interesting.
Bro,
I
करा लो, बता दो. कोई नहीं बताएंगे,
yeah.
कोई नहीं कुछ बोलेगा, मैं नहीं लिखूंगा, नहीं बताऊंगा.
I mean, I'm not an expert on literature, right? Like I don't have a PhD
What's
on.
your opinion? It's
Yeah.
not about experts. Nobody watching this is actually, a PhD in anything. If you are,
Yeah.
mashallah, yaar,
Thank you so much.
thank you. But everybody who watches this is all just like equally
Yeah.
like feeling like they're a piece of shit.
Yeah.
And that they're just, not good enough and not able to like ever become or get to the pinnacle of everything
Yeah.
or anything for that matter. So
Yeah.
they face the same problems. They have, like opinion. So you have an opinion. What's your opinion on
True.
erasure
Yeah,
poetry?
I can express my opinion for sure.
Yeah, of course.
I don't think erasure poetry is plagiarism because I don't think people who do erasure poetry claim the poem to be their own.
Okay.
Like usually, like for example, I met someone who does erasure poetry. This one American poet, can't remember her name, who came to Bilkent, right, for the workshop and stuff. And wherever like she told, if she was reading the erasure poetry that she had done, she would tell us what poem it was and who wrote it, and then she would read her version of it after the erasure.
So she cites her sources.
In a way, you could look at it as that. Like if you look at it from an academic point of view, then you could look at erasure poetry as a conversation with what already has been written and already exists.
देखो ये आपने बड़ी classy बात हो कि conversation with whatever exists. What does that even mean, bro? Like there's a poem, right, and it has words on it, and it looks pretty and it sounds nice. Okay.
Yeah.
Now you read it and you change it. You're making changes, like a couple words, a couple lines, whatever.
Yeah.
Sounds a lot like you're copy pasting and kind of trying to delete your way out of turn it and getting you fucked.
Okay. But that's not what it is. Of course, we know that.
No, but there's an intention behind it.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, at least from the erasure poetry that I have read, the people, like, I don't even know what to call them, right? Like, do I call them erasers? Like, because they're not writing, right? They're not writing anything.
They're not writing. They don't get to call them. You can call them a poet, I suppose.
Yeah, erasure poets or poets, right? So, like, when they do work on a poem, they're trying to, or they end up creating something which is very different from that poem. It doesn't remain that poem anymore. Like you could do a sort of erasure poetry where you cancel out maybe 2 words from 10 sentences, right? That's not going to change much of the meaning. It might, you know, twist the meaning in some very specific part of the poem or whatever piece of fiction it is or writing. But when they do erasure poetry, or at least what I've read, the good stuff, it's been like they create almost another poem out of that poem. And the fun in it lies in realizing that, how do I put this? Like, even conceptualizing the idea that something else could have been created out of the limited assortment of words that were already present. And I feel like erasure poetry is more interesting to look at from the perspective of a writer. Maybe not as much as a reader. Like when I'm reading erasure poetry, I'm asking myself questions of, would I have erased this word? Would I not have erased this word? And that's so interesting that she got rid of this whole set of 5 lines where I saw a lot of material. So the different possibilities that people create for themselves, the different opportunities that people see in that very limited tool set, you could say, like, if that makes
Just
sense.
an eraser, yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
Just an eraser. Literally. It's
I
not
mean,
a
it's
tool set,
interesting.
just an
It's
eraser.
interesting. I've never
Chalo.
done it properly, but
Chalo.
yeah,
Okay, so
Um,
Hadi thinks it is not plagiarism.
I don't think it's
He
plagiarism.
has done a good job in proving me wrong. I think he is right. I
You
think
used to
it
think it
might
was
not be.
plagiarism?
Yeah, look, okay, so I'm going to be honest with you, and most of the people who are watching this will probably agree with me because I'm assuming you will. It's a full-on assumption, but I know you will. बस ये पता है. तुम मेरा podcast देखते हो, तुम क्या कर रहे हो? But if I'm for example writing anything, right? I write down a paragraph or I write down a poem and I cut out a few words from each sentence that completely change the meaning of the poem. That just completely change it.
Yeah.
Right. Now
Yeah.
the intention of the poem could say be like it could have been about writing about an apple, and now you're writing about something else because you just removed every word that could have possibly been a metaphor or anything for an apple, right?
Okay.
Okay, so now you've changed the intention behind the poem. So then it isn't plagiarizing, right?
Okay.
Because
Yeah,
like
it's
why
not.
would it be plagiarizing?
Yeah,
Because
I
you've
agree.
changed the complete intention. Just because the words are the same, English language doesn't have too many words that you can play around with anyway. So like I feel like yeah, you can play. Like, don't give me the Ali Shamim look, okay?
I mean, there are a lot, bro.
No, but like
I
it's
feel like
like
the
it's like
English language sometimes has unnecessarily too many words for everything.
okay,
Sometimes,
chalo,
chal,
chalo.
chal.
But I feel like it's
But yeah,
about the intention behind what you're writing and why you're writing it. And as long as that changes and you're not just, erasing it for the sake of it already being a good piece of work,
yeah, yeah.
then
And
yeah.
if you were to do that, it probably wouldn't be that successful. If you're creating a poem by doing erasure, which is just a copy of the original poem, then people probably won't find that
तुमने गाने
interesting.
के रीमेक्स देखे?
Yeah, I
तुमने कोई
usually
गाने
don't
के
like
remix
them.
सुने? Bro,
I
come
usually
on,
don't.
bro, you can't say that, bro. There's certain remixes that are just legendary.
Yeah,
Okay.
true, for sure.
Yeah. But anyway, let's move on to what I want to know, which, the question I asked Shuru mein, which you clearly did not respond. You gave me an answer.
Okay,
But now
ask
it's,
again.
yeah. Okay, so I will ask in a very clear way.
Okay.
When you find yourself sad as shit, right?
Yeah.
And
Not even if, when.
yeah, when you find yourself sad as shit
Yeah.
and you're getting to writing something,
Yeah.
how is it? How do you hone it down into a way where you write it in a very like articulate poem fashion? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like because it's easy to use massive sentences and run-on sentences and long metaphors and everything to get to your point, right?
Yeah.
But it's very hard to compress the thought in a way where it still provokes more thought.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, सवाल तो अच्छा पूछा.
So, how my process usually goes is like when I'm writing a poem, what a lot of people do, not everyone, of course, is they'll write a lot.
Okay.
Like even sentences or passages, and then cut and pick from that to, compress it as much as possible. But my process is different. Like when I'm writing a poem, usually like I'll spend a lot of time on every line. Like I'm thinking about every word, and what I put down on the page, there's I would say there's not too much editing that I do after I've put it down. So I'm thinking about the compressed form that you're talking about
Yeah.
from the moment that I'm even putting it on the page or before that, right? So it ends up being compact by that. And yeah, like, does that answer it? Like,
I suppose you just think a
but
lot
I guess
about
I
each
just said,
sentence.
yeah, but that doesn't answer it. Like, I think a lot about, yeah. I want it to be compact. When I'm putting it down,
But do you want for people to understand what you're trying to say? Like feel the emotion behind it without like necessarily understanding the situation or the circumstance that caused the emotion.
yes, for sure.
Okay.
Because it's not autobiographical, right? Like, it's
Okay,
not
so
my own.
that's where it differs, right? That's where
But
I'm
there
having
are,
trouble then.
yeah, and there will, like, in my poetry, there are hints I'd say, and if people who know me very closely, if they're reading it, they're probably able to connect certain poems to events in
Yeah.
my life. But for a stranger, it would be like maybe there's hints of what it is about, like maybe about heartbreak or breakup or whatever it is.
Heartbreak
But
और breakup एक ही चीज होती है, ठीक है? समझा करो.
not necessarily.
Bro, you could break up from your love from the love of your mother if she passed away.
Okay.
Heartbroken.
Yes, that is heartbreak. Yeah, for sure. For
Yeah.
sure.
But chalo.
But yeah, so they could get to a certain conjecture, but it would be only that, it would be an assumption. There's no way of confirming it. So
Yeah.
I've never, like, it's sort of like a tug of war, push and pull negotiation between
Acha.
how much of I'm expressing myself and how much of it is fictional.
So what you're saying is you sometimes try to call people out, but only the people that know you're calling them out will get called out.
I
I
mean, I haven't
also
written any
part of it.
revenge poems, but
Revenge poetry. Bro, is that a general genre of like poetry? Is that
I've never
genuinely
read-
there? Like
I've
revenge
never read
poetry?
any, but I would assume that there.
Yeah, don't type revenge P into it. don't
Or
do
just
it.
finish the
That-
word.
Yeah,
Write
yeah.
it somewhere else. Copy paste to your browser.
Okay, see, comedic release. This is
Yeah.
what this podcast is about. This is what I bring to the table.
Nice.
Right.
Aside from
Yeah, don't say it, bro. Don't say it. You can't say those things, bro. You can't alienate our entire male audience.
for sure. I'll zip my mouth.
In
up.
case you're thinking of what it is, he's just referring to my hair because it's fantastic. Much like his hair. Segue down.
You have like 2 strands of bangs hanging in front
Oh,
of your
yeah,
eyes.
don't. There are no bangs. Oh my god, bro. You just. No, you're making me very woe about it.
No,
now.
your hair.
Don't make me cautious. Don't make me that about my hair. But anyway, so as you can probably tell, I was going to take a turn from poetry because we'll get back to it. But important segue. As you can see, my hair is fantastic, but Hadi has pretty okay hair too. So see, the texture of his hair is pretty shit, but he
Really?
works on it. Yeah,
Let me zoom into my.
No, but he tries. Hadi implements this beautiful thing called the curly girl method.
Yes.
Hadi, why do you do this to your hair?
I think it makes the texture better. It's just healthier for your hair. They look better, I think. It's
So
nice.
can you please explain to everybody how often you shampoo? And why do people want to know this? I don't know. But for the purposes of everybody who doesn't give a shit about their hair, listen to this, because if your hair is nicer, it raises you up more than you can significantly ever understand. Okay. So like think about it. Okay, Hadi, go for it. Explain to them. Explain to all the boys out there.
I'll explain
How do
the curly girl method. Yeah, I shampoo, I'd say once or twice a week. But let me clarify, okay? That does not mean that I shower once or twice a week. I just put the physical,
Shampoo.
The
liquid,
shampoo.
yes.
Yeah, the
Shampoo,
liquid, the fluid.
shampoo डालता है.
Yeah.
Okay.
I put that in my hair once or twice a week, and the other times that I'm showering, I'm putting only conditioner. And the CG method, short for curly girl method, is mostly about that shift. I'd say, like, removing shampoo as much as possible because it has chemicals and certain components which are bad for your hair generally, or at least for curly hair. So it is aimed at making your hair curlier, right?
So
Like,
is
even
your
if
hair naturally curly?
my hair is naturally curly, and the CG method enhances the curls and makes them better, in my opinion. But even if
that is
you
happening.
like, your hair seems pretty straight, but even if you start doing the curly girl method, you'll start getting like waves at least, maybe even curls. Okay,
I have
so
wavy hair, but acha.
yeah,
I would
it
like
would-
to. I'll try.
yeah,
But
you could try.
even now, I shampoo maybe twice or thrice a week.
Okay,
Other days I maybe condition twice a week.
okay.
That's it. For all
So-
of you disgusting animals, that doesn't mean I shower 5 times a week. Okay, I shower twice a day, every day. Okay, एक दफा उठ के और एक दफा जिम के बाद या सोने से पहले. क्वारंटीन में जिम नहीं जाते लोग. Please मुझे
Yeah.
छोड़ दो. But no, my hair is also naturally blessed. Since a very young age, I've had fantastic hair.
Okay.
But this entire podcast has just been me feeding my own ego.
Yeah, talk about
And
those.
the craziest thing is it's on the internet, right? So people can bash me and
Shameless.
just destroy me. Like people can just come at me, right? Just say
Yeah.
absolutely horrible things to me in the comment section. But for all of you that are watching this and will ever watch this, Ali reads the comments. I don't give a shit. So good luck.
Damn.
That
Weren't you talking about
yo.
alienating your audience?
No, this isn't alienating my audience. There
This
was
is
this
honesty.
comment.
This is honesty.
No,
Yeah.
there was this comment that once came through. Now, see, this is the point, right? There was
Okay.
this comment that once came through. Hamza, could you please talk about your experience studying philosophy internationally? Right?
Yeah.
I said, okay. Of course, I read that one. I read it, and I even had an entire hour-long podcast to reply to it. That
Yeah.
doesn't mean I'm shitting on my audience. I acknowledge, I respect you guys for having the time to watch this. Like, I don't know what you guys are getting from this, but hopefully one day even I will understand, and that'll be the day. Because mere liye to this podcast has always just been something I get on. I talk about my experiences because chalo, on average, more than the people, on average, I've experienced a lot of shitty shit in my life. Therefore, the old David Goggins, Jordan Peterson, entire fucking like eras of shit comes through it. So you motivate yourself with self-help, and then you find yourself at a point where you know a little bit more about self-help than most people, right? Doesn't mean you've helped yourself. It just means you know. Yeah. So as long as like you people ask me questions and they ask, when they do, I do reply. But if you're going to comment and be like, "यार time ज़ाया हो गया," bro, कसम खुदा की, internet में बहुत option है. Like, I swear to God, there's
They
so
could just
many
not
things.
watch. Yeah.
Yeah, you can literally just click off. It doesn't hurt you. Don't be rude for no reason. I don't like people, and I don't get people who find it. This is just a rant now.
Yeah. It's fine. Go for it.
I don't get people who just find like a reason to shit on somebody. अच्छा कुछ बोलने का नहीं है तो ना बोलो. ठीक है? Constructive criticism होती है. This is way too early to come out with a podcast like this.
But it's
like,
honest. It's honest.
yeah, but it's like, look, Ali has me on this podcast for two reasons. One, you will never know. The other one, honesty. Right? And
Yes,
with
I can
honesty,
attest that.
yeah. And with honesty, the thing is, we have guests on the podcast, right? People who I like having on, like Uzaifa and Ali Anwarzada, and people who interest me. I learn things from them. Shit that I give a shit about. And then we have people who will go unmentioned because there aren't many shared episodes that I really don't give a fuck about. Right?
Alienating your guests as well.
No, I'm not, bro. It's not about being disrespectful. It's about not caring.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not asking you to consume this podcast. I'm just asking if you choose to consume it and you're at this point where you're still watching it, मजा तो आ रहा है, तो बस गाली क्यों दे रहे हो? Right? You get it? See, I'm making sense.
Yeah, true.
I think.
Yeah.
But
sure.
Yeah, but be nice, yeah. It hurts Ali's feelings quite a lot. Like, I'm not gonna lie. Like, उसका तो दिल टूट जाता है. वो कुछ पढ़ता है ना, he just goes into this week-long period where he's just like, should I post more? Should I not post more? And he just think, Ali needs to post. Let him post. Okay?
Yeah.
Don't be rude to him. You want to be rude? You want to be rude? I have an Instagram. You can cuss me out on my Instagram. I am free. It is quarantine. Life is good. I am also 21 and ready to waste my time. I feel like, that was a good rant.
That was a good rant. Yeah, for sure. A lot came out.
But I lost track of where I was before.
We were talking about hair, I believe.
Yeah. Okay, chalo. Everybody take care of your hair, take care of your skin. Stop using soap on your face. It's horrible for you.
Yeah.
If you're on a uni budget, I understand. It's fine. It's fine.
Yeah,
Hadi,
for sure. Yeah.
Bro. I can't have my facial putani konsa like gels and stuff right now. I mean, I'm not gonna act like I know what I'm talking about because I do, but I don't want to talk about it. So I don't want to have my charcoal face wash on deck.
I was talking about curly girl method a few minutes
ago.
Okay,
fine. I don't want to have my charcoal face wash and just feel all pretty and clean inside. Okay.
Okay.
I do want to. I really do.
Yeah. Ooh, those charcoal face
easy? Yeah. You think this is affordable? It's not. It really is not. You get a face mask for around 1,000 rupees, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot else you can get. Let me tell you that. Right?
And especially quarantine, you need to prioritize.
Yeah. You can get food. You can get things to have fun with. You can get video games, books, shit ton of things. face moisturizer and stuff, it doesn't really seem like it's a priority right now.
Yeah.
But as long as you're, just washing your face and just stay clean, stay hygienic, quarantine is not an excuse for being dirty. And that's going to Hadi as much as everybody else, because I don't believe he showers 7 times a week. I really don't.
I don't necessarily, but it's like 6 times a week, 5 times a week. You can skip a day, I feel like, weekends when you're slumping.
I feel like you should shower twice a day. Every day, regardless.
I think that's bad for your hair.
I think it's wasteful for the environment.
That too, but also bad for your hair. Like, it shouldn't be showering.
Put a cap on.
Yeah, I mean, you can't buy like face wash type stuff and you want me to buy a cap for showering. Not happening.
Listen, it makes sense. Okay, anyway, back to the original topic. What an insane tangent. I've cussed people out. I've talked about hair. And now, go back to literature.
Okay.
Do you think it is hard for people to express themselves in a written format? Do you think it's easier to have another format?
Well, I guess the written format is very vulnerable because whatever you're saying is directly communicated. If you look at other mediums like music or painting or whatnot, you could argue that it's more abstract than verbal communication. There's a lot of interpretation involved. You don't necessarily have to be that clear, but written format, like whatever you're writing, will be communicated if the person knows the language, of course. So that can make it difficult, I guess.
Good thing you said there. Huh? Good realization.
Yes.
because everybody just constantly just thinks that we're going to read Sanskrit. I mean, some of you probably do, but I can't read, Turkish shit. I've been living here for a while, huh? But Hadi can. I can read other languages, stop at English. But no, I can read Urdu, and most importantly, I speak a bit of Spanish and French. Sorry, not French, German. I'm not a fuckboy. And I'm just alienating these people.
I think your podcast is gone after this episode. Either it'll shoot up because of the honesty, or it's gone, like the end.
Oh no, because the thing is, look. If you speak French, and you have no intention of living in France, or you're not French. What's your reasoning? I know what it is, you turkey boys. I know.
You're exposing all the soft points right now.
No, but on a side related note, if you speak other languages, see, people think French is the most beautiful and romantic language. I have a friend who said that. We both have a friend who said that. He's wrong. He is incorrect. French is a language. French is a language you just use because you can't talk to a girl directly. Okay.
See, that explains the medium point I was making as well. If someone understands that language, it's way more direct.
Oh yeah, definitely. But
being vague helps. Yeah.
Yeah. But see,
being vague in French. Oui.
Being vague in French. Oh my God, bro! Why'd you have to do that? See, for all of you that are bilingual, which is basically all of you, because this entire podcast was bilingual. Yeah, I make realization, huh? But it's really hard learning more languages. Like it is. Okay. Like Hadi's been able to learn Turkish like very well.
Yeah, and forgotten my regional like family language because of it.
Yeah. And I, on the other hand, have now thankfully, thank you, Turkey, I have forgotten Spanish, German, and Turkish, and it has become one blend of an amalgamation of kind of European languages. So
yeah, at least it's European, dude. I started mixing Turkish with my family language is Kutchi, so I start putting like Turkish suffixes or stuff like that in Kutchi words, and it gets really strange.
Yeah, bro. A lot of people who speak English say tamam, which is Turkish for okay or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's like really funny. It depends on the context. Like if you're in Turkey, it's fine, right? But if you find yourself sitting at a dhaba having chai and you're like, oh, kya chahiye? And you're like, tamam. Like, what the did you just say to me? Like, I don't know, man. But learn a language. It's a great skill to have. Ali tells you people that do art and shit. learning language is also, really fun.
Wait. So, wait, I'm gonna check you there. You said a
Good.
few minutes ago that people who are learning French and never intend on going to France, why are they
Yeah.
learning it? And now
Yeah.
you're saying learn
Because
a
they're
language
naughty
that's
boys.
useful.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's a
It's
specific
about
intention which
it's
you disagree
about the
with.
intention. Look,
Okay,
when I
okay.
learned to speak Spanish, I didn't want to go to speak Spanish because I don't hate on Spanish women. Okay, that wasn't my reason for learning Spanish. My reason was for learning Spanish was because I was in a very nice private school and I had to learn a language, and I knew French is a fuckboy language and German was too hard, so I picked Spanish. That's why I learned Spanish. Right? And
Okay.
3 years of my life gone. Decisions you should be cognitive and conscious of. Okay, don't just make decisions ऐसे. Trust us, huh? बहुत बड़े fuck-ups होते हैं. but more importantly, German I learned because I was thinking about going to Germany for university.
Okay.
Obviously,
Fair.
I didn't,
Yeah.
but I did.
But
I
that's
was
a
like,
good reason.
in the case I want to, like, if you're learning a language, Germany has free education, so you should go there. You should try the language. Why not?
Yeah, for sure.
Don't quote me on the free education part. Like, I'm sure you'll have to do your own research. But I know it's kind of free somewhere. Yeah?
People say that. Yeah, I've heard it.
People say that. People say that.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
But chalo, see, that was a very important caveat. But you were saying something about knowing the language about which you're writing in.
Yeah, I said if the person. Yeah, so I was talking about how the written form is more direct and therefore more vulnerable. So people, I guess, feel way more cautious about every word that they're putting down, and especially if other people are going to read it, right? Like it's way more difficult to be choosing what you're putting there, what you're not putting there. So that can make it difficult for people to write poetry, I guess, or write anything. What was your exact question?
You forgot.
I finished that train of thought,
Everybody
but I
forgot.
don't know what it was
Everybody
trying to
forgot.
answer.
It's okay. Everybody forgot. We'll get back into it. Okay.
Yeah.
See, this podcast is for those that have a very short attention span. That would make
People
so
can
much
get
sense.
the implications of that.
Yeah. I suppose you could. But no. I had asked him. Shit, I can't remember. Moving on to the next question. Okay, so you taught me how you write poetry, so I'll try it, obviously. Although you didn't teach me shit, you just told me, can I think about every sentence for 15 minutes? I do too. I just write the sentence, then you write 6 words. There's a different. I feel like there's an intention. Maybe I just need to learn this shit. But I did A levels literature. I don't know how I got through it. I really don't. Okay. I feel like the only reason I got through it is because of this whole you can interpret it in any way you want thing. Okay.
Yeah, that helps.
Yeah. Do you think that's right? Do you think that's fair to the author? Interpreting it in any way you want.
Yeah, I think. Well, firstly, to clarify one thing, I'm not teaching you how to write poetry. But,
Yeah. These people understand. I'm exaggerating.
Yeah. But I think so. I'm a firm believer in once a work of art has been made, published, whatever, released, it's not in the control or hands of the author or creator of it anymore. It's in the hands of the audience. So whatever meanings the people interpret out of it, whatever consequences or implications it ends up having, like all of those are valid. So yeah, I agree. Like I think it should be interpreted however the audience wants.
I can't believe you called my hair bangs, bro.
Were you even listening?
It's been on my mind for so long. Like, ouch. Okay, but anyway, I was listening. After the art is done, the interpretation lies on the audience, not on the creator, because they've created it already, and now we as the observers get to decide what we're observing.
Yeah.
Which I find is very annoying. Okay, because this is my thing, right? When I write like something you can't really, what's the word? Analyze, because you can analyze why I'm writing it or the way I'm writing it, but you can't analyze the purpose or intent behind it because it literally says it. Like, you just need to
you're more direct,
understand it. Yeah. But if I was to ever write a poem, or if I was to ever take a picture, make a painting, or do anything like that, and I put it on the internet, and say I make a landscape painting about literally just a field, right? And why am I making it? Because it's a field that I once went on and I remembered it and I wanted to make it.
Okay.
But if people start thinking that it's like, oh my God, that's my field of consciousness and all that, यार तुम इतना सोचते क्यों? That's my question. Like, it's a
Okay.
field. Just
But then
enjoy the field.
but what's wrong in that? If someone looks at your field and starts thinking that, then what's the harm in that?
Because you're making assumptions about why I created it, which is making an assumption about me through my work, which they aren't like technically understanding correctly.
See, I don't look at it as them guessing the authorial intent, right? So
They go.
I don't see it as okay. I don't see it as them making assumptions about why you created it. You could see it as them making assumptions about how it is supposed to affect people or how it affects people, which are two different things, right? And I think it's interesting, like, right, like if you're making a picture or painting of just a field, which for you is just a field, it has no deeper meaning in it, but for that piece of art to stimulate a thought process about a field of consciousness or whatever it is that people are having, like, for me that's really interesting, because sometimes people will make interpretations which you yourself could not have expected, or they will see things in your work of art which you never saw, right? And that can also be really interesting.
I get it. You make sense.
Yeah. So you
And
can
I see it.
look at it positively. If you don't like,
So you're saying I have a very pessimistic outlook towards life.
maybe not pessimistic, just exclusive. Like, if you don't want people to
look at him calling me exclusive.
If you don't
It is a
want
club
people
hard
to
to enter.
get interpretations out of your work, then you can just create it and keep it to yourself. You can. Or if you are releasing it, then you release it with an explanation, like this is
Like
what
I
it
did.
and this is what it doesn't mean.
Because like when I wrote my poem, I had an entire analysis of the
Yeah,
poem because
yeah.
this is why I wrote it. I don't
Yeah.
want you to make your decision. I don't want you to act like you know what I'm saying when I'm not saying it. Okay.
Yeah.
Don't make assumptions. I don't like people who make assumptions. Okay. I just don't. I'm
For sure,
alienating
yeah.
so many people right now. But like odds are if you make assumptions, you think you don't make assumptions, so you're cool with me. ये मैंने की psychoanalytic analysis. For all of you that actually study psychology and are about to like Freud hate me in the comments,
I mean,
Ali की बहुत सारेगी.
psychoanalysis is not only about the.
Listen.
Yeah.
You think you know about Sigmund Freud? You don't know about Sigmund Freud. What do you know? What do you know? You have golden hair. You don't get to talk about Sigmund Freud. Okay. ये होती है personal attack. This has nothing
ad
to
hominem.
do. This is important for all of you to realize. You will learn a new thing today. It is called a fallacy. It is ad hominem. Yes, Hadi, tell them what ad hominem is.
Ad hominem is just if you disagree with someone or are in a debate with someone, you attack their person instead of the point that they are making. That's ad hominem.
Yes. It is also referred to as a shitty argument, which you shouldn't do, and people do on the internet because they can run away. But
Yeah.
but yeah,
It's like,
I
you're wrong
don't think I'm
because
gonna
you're a
have any
shitty
followers
person.
after this. Yeah, I'll have a lot of views on this one, but I might not be able to go back home after this one. but chalo, I hope one day there's enough people watching this where I have to worry about going home. But that's a win and a lose. But anyway, no. There's the appeal to authority fallacy.
What was it?
Do you know about it? I can't remember the Latin name.
That's
I know.
fine.
I study philosophy. Okay. Yeah,
Just
I do.
explain
Okay,
it in simple English.
Okay.
I don't know Latin.
I thought you meant the Latin translation for it, like ad hominem.
No. Explain it to me. Like, I don't know.
Oh, appeal to authority is when you have a fallacy based on when the authority is just telling you something, like a false authority. So basically, like you could have someone who's a professor in economics talking shit about like environmental management, and because they're a professor in economics and they have a PhD and shit and they're an authority on the subject, you take them for their words.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a shit,
how is that
fallacy.
relevant?
Yeah, nothing's relevant. Everything's relevant to you.
It's like, oh, here's another fallacy that I know about.
You want fallacies, bro? I know 186 of them. No bullshit.
I know, like,
start. Yeah, of course. You know the debating ones.
Yeah.
See, that's hate. Okay, I'm gonna educate you, Hadi. Do you know what a sophist is?
I know what a sophist is. Wait, my memory is
shaky.
Right now.
Yeah.
Wait. What was it?
Think about it.
Wow.
You don't need to know, bro. I'll teach these people as well.
Yeah, no, just remind me. I know what sophism is, yeah. But
philosophy and sophism come from the word soph. or Sophie, I don't know. But
Okay.
the word means knowledge. Philosophy means lover of knowledge. And a sophist is someone who uses knowledge. Basically, people who use knowledge to manipulate people into getting what they want. This is an ancient term from the days of the past, huh?
Yeah.
where what we now call lawyers. No hate to the lawyers watching this.
More alienation.
After this, I'll have 6 people who watch this, but they're going to be ride or die people. What do you mean, bro? But no, a sophist is someone who uses their knowledge to take advantage of a situation.
Okay, yeah, like false arguments and stuff like that.
Yeah, people who will use, fallacies, even if not fallacies, they'll use rhetoric. They'll use their ability to articulate themselves in a very good way to win over people.
Yeah,
And So they used to be paid in terms of, because lawyers didn't exist. So they used to be paid to like argue and plead their cases in court and stuff. Like in ancient, the place I can't remember where philosophy originated from, which I know, I should know, but my memory isn't all there these days. Okay. So if you're a sophist, which most debating people are, and I'm not talking to you, Hadi, I'm looking at myself, so I'm looking at the camera. Okay. Yeah, now I'm alienating debate people. Chalo. Yeah. Let's go. Right? If you are, I should tell you something. Even Hadi knows this. There comes a point where you realize you're wasting your own time. Okay?
Yeah.
But if you are someone who just loves to learn things, mashallah. That's all I have to say.
But I guess like in debating, sophism or sophistry, whatever, is used in places like it's used for competition, right? You're doing it for getting more speaker points or to win the match or the tournament.
Now you want me to alienate all our MUN boys?
So you wanna, pretending like, because it's human judges who are judging you, right? So pretending like you know about something sometimes works.
We have this marvelous friend who will go unnamed. He knows everything.
Yes.
And Mustafa, I swear to God, you know everything. What can I say? He's just, all the intelligence went into him.
Yeah.
When people were actually, going to school, Mustafa was going to university.
He actually uses a lot of fallacies as well.
Bro, but like, he's so big, you can't argue against him. He's like, nahi maine bola, tum kya karoge? It's like, what do you mean, bro? But that's not the point. The point is, this is a life lesson to everybody who's under the age of 18. Oh yeah, this is going to be a good one, Hadi. Be ready for this one. Okay. If you partake in MUNs and you do it, this is ready for this, and you do it out of enjoyment because you really like beating people, then you are okay. Good job. If you go to MUNs just to meet people and sit in the back and waste your own time, get a job. Please do something with your time. I know, and I'm pretty sure Hadi knows so many people who just do this stuff. I भी जाऊंगा, लम जाऊंगा, ये करूंगा.
Socials, bro.
Yeah, let me tell you something. Everybody who's coming there is coming to win, except the people who are coming to have fun.
Yeah.
And when you're
the
coming
people
to have
who are
fun,
coming to have fun end up helping the people who want to win.
Yes. If you want to just have fun, if you want to chill out, if you want to just vibe and have your whole Lums experience, have the orange juice. Used to be good, not anymore, but chalo. And plus 41% hike, that's fucking bullshit. Can we just give a lana to Lums, please? Or you want to join me in this?
I like their orange juice, bro. I like their orange
juice.
Bro,
but the 41% price hike?
Oh, I don't know about that.
Bro, they've raised their tuition fee by 41%.
Oh, really? Fuck.
Yes. Bro, now can we give them a massive lanat? Yes, Lums.
Yeah.
Very bad on you. भाई देखो, it's hard to study in university anyway, and उसके ऊपर तुम अगर हमारे पे इतना stress डालते हो, हम लोग Lums में तो है नहीं, मगर अगर तुम उसके students
by extension of our friends.
Yeah. If you stress them out, they'll stress us out, which means somebody's getting stressed. Okay. Yeah. And don't be stressing people out like that, Lums. Like, come on. But anyway, if you go to MUNs for the sole purpose of having fun and like allowing yourself to get manipulated because some cool person you think they'll be your friend, I'm sorry. Let me make something clear to you. People like Hadi are assholes in debate competitions, okay? They will act like they're your friends. They will be like, oh my God, you want to have a cigarette after? But let me tell you something. All this while, they are manipulating you, right? Because they're using you for a trophy, which is good on them because winning is amazing. Let's be honest.
I
But
mean, yeah, that's not entirely false. I won't lie, because
yeah, so,
especially what happens in the room of like MUN sessions, whatever more like whatever happens in MUN stays in MUN,
no, it
like
doesn't.
in
No,
terms
it
of the
doesn't.
relationships you make.
Oh no!
Not all of
Sometimes
them.
they follow you to and become your juniors in university.
Yeah,
Sorry, in college.
I mean, sometimes you get valuable relationships out of it, which is more rare. But yeah, like
I'm not talking about
how you
valuable
go
relationship. I'm
and
talking about
talk to
people who
many
annoy the shit out
people.
of you.
Yeah. So you have
Like
to probably
अगर तुमने कभी किसी को
manage.
MUN में उठाया है, तुमने कभी किसी को MUN में उठाया है, just for the sake of winning, so you give them a little ego boost, right? And you become like their friend. Wow, this
Yeah,
is going
for
to be
sure.
super
You go
toxic.
up to them and
And
you're
then
like, dude, that one speech you gave in the entire session was mind blowing. I think that changed your
mind
whole
blown, bro.
life. And
I'm sure they're still thinking about you. But, and then a few years, a couple months after, you're just chilling and you see them and they act like they're your friends and you're like, yeah, now I just feel bad, right? Because this happened to me. This happened to me in Cedar, right?
yeah,
Where when I was in Cedar's first year and I was debating for doing the MUNs, there was this kid who became our junior in Cedar,
yeah,
who basically like, I'm sorry I used the shit out of you, but chalo ho gaya. And then when he came, I was just chilling with my friends, and he just came and he acted like he's my friend, and he was like, "Oh my God, look, are people I know." But I'm sorry, yaar, I am what you call a gandu. Okay, I
yeah.
have nothing to say. Like, bro, I clearly and concisely used you because my debate coach told me I have to. He
Yeah.
said, "This is how you win." I
Just put
said,
it on your
"Okay."
debate coach.
Bro, let's be honest, bro. There is no debate coach who hasn't said you don't have to manipulate people in anything.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But I feel like that's what makes it more fun and more real in a way.
ये देखो
Because
भाई को
wait.
manipulation मजा आता है.
No. I have an explanation for this.
Yeah,
Because
come on.
like, okay, all agreed and accepted that that atmosphere of an MUN, especially the people who are going for the trophy, it's all about manipulation, and a lot of like even when the judges are picking who the best delegate is, they factor in how good you are at getting people on your side, appealing to people, what tactics you use. Those of course factor in, because what MUNs are simulating is diplomacy, right? And diplomatic sessions or atmospheres.
Oil
And
lobbies.
yeah, and you have that in
Yeah.
diplomacy as well.
Yeah, you do.
Manipulation, being clever about shit, using tactics on people, psychological tricks, whatever you're using to get people on your side. So, it's all fair in love and war type of situation.
It's all fair in love and war, and this is World War III. Three Idiots. That's called diversifying my audience. See, people like Three Idiots. Now they like me.
Doesn't like
No, but my final question before I wrap this up, and this super irrelevant and confusing podcast, which I suppose has been very amusing to actually shoot. So I'm sure it's amusing to watch as well.
Yeah,
They're
at
like,
least
yeah, ये दोनों को देखो यार. Yeah, it's a good use of an hour. Plus, I just had this realization that I have my interviews for my English thing. So I don't have English class this entire week. So that means I don't have a class till 1:40 tomorrow.
Nice.
You people don't know what that means. Hadi knows what that means.
I know what that means. I'll see you in a bit.
Yeah, but I call it chilling. Ali says not allowed. That's all you need to know. But yeah, Ali doesn't advocate for meeting people in Corona. But there's only like 7 people in this university. Don't fact check me. We've all had Corona and now we don't. Don't fact check me, bro. I'm telling you, bro. A few years later, this is going to expose me. This podcast will expose me.
I'm afraid Bilkal might cut your internet right now.
Chief can't do. But yeah, last question. Is there any one skill you learned, like not like a bigger scale, but like any one tactic you learned from debating per se that you still use? Like for me, one thing I learned was the triple repetition. Yeah, when you when you just say 3 things like back to back, like you make it a line, and that leaves a bigger impact on an audience, and it does even when I'm writing. It does. It just does. I can't say. Yeah, so it's good. I learned. What did you learn?
Well, yeah, like I wouldn't say I wouldn't call it a tactic, but more effective ways of communicating what I want to say. Like, for example, there's this ALEC thing. I don't know if you remember that, where you give the argument, like you state it in very concrete, specific words, which
Yeah.
which communicate what the crust of your argument is, and then you go on to explain what it is, right? So, and that's something which I even use in academic writing for my like
Yeah,
essays
no,
for
no, no.
class
Like
and
giving
stuff
a
as well.
thesis is
Yeah,
important.
yeah,
It's like
stuff like
basically
that.
like giving a thesis.
Yeah, and getting straight to the point, like fuck the preambulatory bullshit and rhetoric.
Oh,
Just
ha.
like
You know,
now, if you look at my academic writing, it like the first line, you'll know what I'm gonna be arguing.
yeah.
Yeah.
I know. I
So get
understand this
straight to the
because
point.
even in college and even in university, when I first started writing essays, I wrote them very like rhetorically. I like started it very like like sounding cool and shit. Now if you
Yeah,
read my essay, that's in this essay I will attempt to explain that's it. That's it.
exactly.
That's
Yeah,
honestly it, because I'm paying you to make me educated. I'm not here to educate you. Okay,
yeah,
for fuck's sake, bro.
yeah. And I
Do you
guess
think people should
debating
drop out of
also,
uni?
huh?
Do you think people should
What?
drop out of uni?
That's another whole discussion, but
No, yes or no,
ge-
yes or no.
uh, it depends on the situation. There are many situations
Oh,
which would
cop out. Okay.
ask
Do
for
you
a
think I
yes.
should drop out of uni? Yes or no? Quickly, you have to
No,
reply.
no.
Oh,
Yeah. I think you'd just be lost with like no
man.
direction. Yeah, I could go on in explaining why
Hey,
I said
don't
no.
attack me. Okay, goodbye,
But
everybody.
yeah,
This is the end of this
another thing,
podcast.
or yeah, we can also do that.
No,
Another
bolo.
point I had was like another thing I guess I've gotten from debating. Wait, I hope I haven't forgotten because of this distraction that you just created.
I'm not a distraction. I'm going to
But
be
yeah,
quite fun.
there's like debating also exposes you to a lot of like very specific lingo. Like for example, like mitigating the harms of this, or words like that, which are generally helpful in making arguments, or yeah, getting your point across in
No,
academic sort of
you
sense.
didn't need to say mitigating the harm.
Yeah,
Just
or
avoiding.
our approach is more holistic, or whatever.
Ah,
Those kind of words.
aye, bro. I love
That
the
just makes it sound fancy.
three prong approach. Like word prongs, word prongs, like word approach. But you're in a debate competition where nobody wants to be here, and people are only doing it because they need a social setting to actually get out in, and people think that debating is going to get them, either just friends, or maybe some sort of popularity, or a uni would like you, and if you're someone
Somehow
who's in
being
the
smart.
yeah. Oh, you want to have a 2 hour long podcast about people who debate, who are so fucking dumb. And listen, I
Yeah.
don't think people are stupid. I genuinely don't. I think people are dumb, and what that means is, in my opinion, if you don't know something, you act like knowing it, and you choose not to learn it even after the act of knowing, after you are acting like you don't know it, or you're doing it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm kind of
Yeah.
lost right now.
Yeah.
But if you do all of that, you're super dumb, right? Because like, bro, at least take the time to learn something. It's
Yeah.
okay to be wrong. It's okay to not know something.
Yeah,
Like
for
one
sure.
and like people who take into account new knowledge and change their opinion aren't stupid. They're actually the ones that are being smart about it. Okay.
Yeah.
And let me tell you something about debate, kid. Yeah. Oh, ha, 1 second. Huh? Oh, ha.
We got
Okay.
so much hate after this.
From who? These fucking debaters? Come at me.
Oh. I'll tag a few people.
You tag him, bro. You tag him. Let me tell you something. Anyone who is intelligent and debates for a completely different reason. Okay? They debate to, show off a little bit. Maybe hone their skills, which is showing off. You're honing your skills. Let's be
That's
honest.
another one of those phrases.
Yeah. But the point is, people who debate solely for the purpose of मैं debate competition करता हूँ. like what? You're so stupid, bro. Please don't do it. You might hate me right now. You might be watching this and being like, ये बंदा मुझे गाली दे रहा है. मैं गाली नहीं दे रहा हूँ. मैं तुम्हें खुदा की कसम support कर रहा हूँ. I am helping you fix yourself before you know you're broken, buddy. Like, let me tell you something. Because I don't say this like I haven't been there. I've been there, which is why I say it, right? I have learned from my experiences. Don't be someone who doesn't learn from your experiences, because then you'll find yourself just sad. Yeah, I know I'm sad. I know. Oh, ha. Okay, I try to learn from them. I'm failing, but I'm trying.
At least you're conscious of it, aware of
Bro, I feel like that after a point that doesn't get you out, bro.
it.
After a point, you can't even be like, I know it's happening. Yeah, we've known for a while. Okay,
Yeah, yeah.
like it's time to fix it. But chalo, that's a different podcast. I'm gonna cap this podcast. It's 55 minutes of utter bullshit
Nice.
and irrelevance.
Yeah. I can't
And
believe you came this far.
yeah, and let me tell you something. Today we have discussed my favorite things, which is, you know, hair care. I kind of like poetry, and fuck you if you debate and you're shitty and just a shitty human being. And and if you feel alienated after this podcast, genuinely, and you've made it to the end, क्यों alienation feel हो रही है? मुझे समझाओ. Like, by everything we've said, we've taught you, you should give a shit about your hair and your skin, and that those things matter. We've taught you how to express yourself, linguistically, I suppose. I don't know, right? And most importantly, we've taught you how not to be a huge douchebag, right? So follow the rules, and I'm sure you'll achieve what we achieved much faster than we achieved it. You see that,
Yeah,
Adi? Full
hopefully,
circular
hopefully.
argument, made this a life lesson, no alienation. Yeah. Okay,
Okay,
like,
I
share,
hope that
comment, and
saves you.
subscribe. And please don't say any mean things because Ali will get really sad. Like, you don't get it. You
You
can
just
come
shit
at
on
me.
people and you're like, please don't say mean things.
I didn't shit on anybody. I shit on you if you deserve
Okay,
to be
fair
shitted
enough.
on. Which is,
Fair
like,
enough.
in my opinion, allowed. If you want to shit at me and come at me for something that you clearly see is evident throughout this podcast, maybe it's my narcissism. If you want to come at me for it, right? Go ahead, come at me. But Ali को छोड़ दो. Ali बेचारा बहुत थक गया है आजकल.
Ali wasn't even in this one. So.
Yeah, Ali wasn't in this. Also, guys, for the few of you that watch this, that's Hadi Khatri. Stalk him, annoy the shit out of him. Why not? let's go. Hamari
Sure.
Chai. Like, share, comment, and subscribe. Goodbye, bro.